When we left off at the end of Season 5 of The 100, the Earth was destroyed for what is hopefully the last time. The remaining population boarded the prison transport ship Aegis 4 and used the cryopods to go into stasis until the Earth was safe to inhabit again. Well, that turned out to be wishful thinking. Monty and Harper decided that the planet will likely never be habitable again, and after a bit of hacking, took the ship to a mysterious group of planets that Aegis was investigating for unknown reasons. That took over 100 years, Monty and Harper had a kid and died of old age, and now we're all caught up. In the first episode of Season 6, called Sanctum, we get a pretty good look at the direction the season is likely to go. This is a new world with new possibilities, and everyone can start fresh, letting go of past grievances and wrongdoings in an effort to move forward and... no, they all do none of that. The show opens with the group discussing where to go from here, and they all bicker back and forth about the horrible things they all did. Some of them are justified, like the cannibalism and genocide. Others are not, like, you got addicted to drugs, and... you accidentally let me to be tortured and then tried to apologize for it. At least Miller and Bellamy kind of iron things out, but the rest of them need to work on that. Anyway, I'm going to highlight some of the key moments from this episode and investigate what it could mean for the rest of the story for Season 6. First thing up is Shaw's death. From a narrative perspective, killing someone off in the first part of a new story is always going to feel unearned, even if we know the character from a past season. The stakes are low, the dynamic between all the characters hasn't truly been established yet, and it's just generally jarring for an audience to watch a character die during the first act. However, an early character death does do one thing, and that is to serve as motivation for another character. Raven is likely to take Shaw's death pretty hard, since he was the first good thing she's had going for her for a while. I have a feeling that the conflict between her and Abby could do a flip-flop once she learns he's gone. The whole being a sanctimonious asshole about pill popping thing can't just be something that Raven does. I'm guessing there's a bit of projecting going on there, and the tables will turn soon enough. Also on that note, Abby basically gets her groove back and once again becomes the determined, bullheaded know-it-all that we all love so much. It'll be interesting to see where her character goes this season.
Never again.
Obviously, there is something weird going on down on Earth 2. The bugs go crazy and swarm, Omori goes nuts and tries to kill Murphy in a blind rage, and there are creepy kids' books and weird sex collars everywhere.
Kinky.
So just to clear things up here, the event of the two suns eclipsing and turning the whole planet into a purge planet happens often enough that they need to write books telling kids about it.
When the stars align and the forest wakes, it's time to run away.
As well as presumably have restraints in all the houses in order to keep the locals from killing each other. But it doesn't happen often enough that the entire group decides to steal a ship and flee the planet in order to avoid the next instance of the maddening or whatever stupid thing they call it.
You know, sometimes it's called the cleansing or the red time. There was this one world that called it just murder night.
Because if you know they have a name for it. This is a post-apocalyptic sci-fi fantasy show, for God's sake. Of course there's a name for it. Point is, the inhabitants of Alpha must have endured it more than once in the past, so why now, at the very first opportunity they get, decide to bail and just not experience it again? Well, I guess we'll find out. Bellamy makes a point of leaving Octavia in cryo until they can get a handle on the situation.
My sister is the last person I trust not to shoot first. She stays on ice with everyone else until we know what we're dealing with.
At least someone is smart enough to see that in this potential tinderbox of a new world, she is a flamethrower ready to light it all ablaze. But she gets out anyway and immediately begins monologuing Kane almost literally to death. That's impressive even for her.
You think you're better than me, Kane? That you've learned from your mistakes? If it was up to you, one crew would have died of starvation in that bunker. You were too weak to do what had to be done. And then you ran, became a traitor, made a deal with our enemy that you knew they would never keep.
This scene seems to be Octavia basically twirling her mustache, a sure sign in my eyes that she will be the new grand villain this season. I can't really see how you redeem cannibalistic, genocidal, warmongering, despotic leader in a tidy little arc. There's not really any coming back from what she's done, and that sucks because she's a great character. But I've doubted this show's writer's room before, and they've managed to pull off pretty much everything so far, so I'll give them a chance with this once again. The big question for this season is, who are the people that lived on the moon, and why did they steal the ship? We got to know a little bit about them this episode, but there's plenty we don't know. First off, there's a family that is important to these people that go by Lightborn.
Lightborn. They sent families.
The ground team saw their pictures on the wall that was commemorating some sort of people called primes. I'm getting some serious cult vibes off this. I mean, even if you have good intentions, the power trip you get from having people call you Prime can't be healthy. I'm certain we'll get to know more about them in future episodes, but I don't have a good feeling about them. So those are pretty much the big plot points for this season so far. Some other things to note are, Kane is dying, and we don't know how he will be helped or even if he ever will be. He's always pretty much been the show's moral center, and despite the fact that he seems so naive and lets people betray and use him constantly, Kane still plays an important part in this story. I'm really looking forward to Jordan Green just kind of being there, not knowing anything about anything, and trying to help out, not being helpful at all. He's like a golden retriever, just happy to be there and is of little use to anyone in the grand scheme of the plot. I'm sure it'll change in the future, but for now I like that image. So next episode, I'm sure we'll get some kind of look at the Lightborns, or whoever it was that stole that ship, a bit more purge action, and more of Octavia practically cackling like a witch. I know I'm looking forward to it. I'll be back next week. Thanks for watching.
Oh my god. We're aliens.
Kinky.